Poppin' B? Purpok here, and welcome back to another episode of Rates the Ramen, the show where I attempt to review something unscripted in the amount of time it takes to boil an instant ramen. And today we'll be taking a look at I'm Still Here, 2024, now showing in movie theaters. Alright, we're going to start the timer right now. Okay, so, I'm Still Here. This is a movie that wasn't really on my radar all that much, until I was given a bit of a tip from a friend of the family and big fan of the show, Luciana, over in Brazil, that I should check this movie out. And that was, I think, a bit before it was getting most of its buzz, but now that I have a chance to actually see it, I've gone and done it, and thanks, Luciana, for pointing me towards some quality Brazilian filmmaking, because I'm Still Here is a fantastic movie, and you should all be checking it out if you don't already know what it is. We're in a funny spot here. I'm currently working on my list of best movies from 2024. Obviously, it's 2025 now, and this movie that I'm talking about technically came out last year and is in consideration for different award nominations from different ceremonies for last year, including the Oscars, nominated for Best Picture as well as Best International Picture and a Best Actress nominee. But release dates are weird, and I'm like, does this count for last year? Because mostly people in America don't only really easily see it at this point this year. But screw it, I'm counting it for both years. Release dates are stupid and ambiguous anyway. If Hundreds of Beavers can release in 3 different years and still count for last year, I don't really give a fuck anymore. So, okay, enough preamble. What is this movie, if you've not heard of it? I'm Still Here is a gripping character drama about a wife and mother who's left to deal with her family and a great deal of responsibilities when her husband is suddenly disappeared by the government. This takes place in 1970s Brazil, which was all the people living under a dictatorship. And her husband, who used to be active in politics, gets disappeared one day, and she just kind of has to figure out what happened to him and deal with the fact that he's not there. And that's about as much as I can discuss without going into greater spoilers, because this movie is best experienced probably as blind as possible. But knowing that little bit of information did help me going in, because as an American, and I guess just someone who didn't really live in Brazil in this time period and some Portuguese and all that, I don't know a lot about Brazil's history. I knew basically nothing of this era for them in the 70s with a dictatorship, but it almost doesn't matter if you don't know anything. In a lot of ways, this story is very familiar. If you've ever seen this kind of living under a regime kind of movie before, you've probably seen several different examples before in your time. But that's not really a bad thing, because it kind of feels intentional. The movie isn't vague about why these things are happening, really, or like what forces are bringing this upon them. It is critical of this time for its government, and it is trying to tell the stories of these real people as best it can. This is based on true events that occurred to a former congressman in Brazil and his family. And again, I didn't know anything about this going into it, but regardless, I found myself like really sucked up into this drama. For the first like 20-30 minutes, there's like no real conflict, well, almost none. It's all like happy, these are the best days of our lives, isn't it great being a family and where we are together. And then, it's not totally free of drama before the father up and, gets disappeared. But it's sort of showing like how things are and what they value in life and how those things are kind of stripped from them by their government. And the mom has to tell these little white lies to the family and the children and to herself to like get through the day and make sure that no one freaks out. Everyone else around her is living under the same regime, so they can't really help her too directly. And it all feels sadly relevant and familiar. It is beautifully shot. It's probably one of the most gorgeous movies I've seen from last year. I put up there with like Nickel Boys and things like that. It's just so clean and colorful. Really, really effective use of light. And for what is essentially a very basic family story on its surface, it feels rich and natural and layered in its execution. Its performances really make it feel like a cut above so many other similar dramas. And just the raw, aching humanity of the whole thing puts it a cut above. I can see why this is the first Brazilian movie to be nominated for Best Picture. Because it's really goddamn good. And if you get the chance, you should see it. Hopefully that gives you a decent impression of what I think of the movie. It's hard not to spoil this one, because it is kind of predicated on a very political intrigue premise that is also based on real events. You could Google and kind of learn the basis for yourself. But as someone who had no real knowledge of any of these happenings or Brazil's recent history going in, what I was rewarded with was a really well-executed, well-presented, well-acted, scored, shot, everything, all that. Period piece, political drama character study that felt very relatable and sadly, again, kind of relevant to the world today in several places and times not that long past either. And I don't know if this is going to win Best Picture. It's a weird race this year. But for the record, you cannot make me watch Emilia Perez. I will not fucking do it for any reason. So please don't ask me. But yeah, I don't know if this here movie is going to win Best Picture, but I'd be totally happy if it did. I think it would deserve it. It's a great movie. And it has a lot of, meaningful, impactful things to say and show. And yeah, it's just really great. Thank you, Luciana, for pointing this out to me. I might not have seen it otherwise, because Oscar movies are always released in such a weird way. But yeah, if Brazil wins, well earned. I give I'm Still Here a 9 out of 10. It's hard for me to give out 10s, but this is a good, strong 9, like almost a 10. My opinion could change on rewatch, but yeah, aside from maybe just a bit of slow pacing towards the middle, and just this general sense of, I don't know, maybe you could grasp the point it's... Oh, I'm sorry. I dropped my crappy little timer. Maybe you could grasp the general point that it's going for in its plot before it arrives more conclusively to that point within its own narrative. Because again, there are many aspects of this story that are familiar, sadly. But regardless of all of that, it's just an excellent example of this sort of story. And it just feels really genuine, and it's really investing and emotionally impactful and great looking and just good, solid movie. Great movie. You should check it out. And if I could spoil more to give you better insight, I would, but I feel like I'd be robbing you of a great deal of the impact this movie could have on you. I've seen some pretty strong movies this year about political struggles, civil disobedience, and like the effects of incarceration and just like being pushed down on by some oppressive force on the soul. And this is one of the better ones this year. Really good stuff. And if you'll excuse me, I'll have to go watch the remainder of the movies on my list from last year so I can finally get finished making my best and worst movies of 2024 video. And I really want to do it this year. So everyone please bug me to do it, okay? I just have like 3 or 4 things left that I care about, and then I'll get to it. My list just won't be complete. It wouldn't have been complete until I had I'm Still Here on it. And Night Bitch, at least. Who else is going to talk about Night Bitch?
I'm pretty sure I'm turning into a dog. Night Bitch.